Hearts run right to the end. People come on, you don't need to be scared. Cause you're gonna love again.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Haider Rifaat Show Season 9 specials. I'm your host Haider Rifaat and today I'm absolutely honored to be joined by Annie Khalid. She's referred to as a pop icon of Pakistan and rightfully so. There's some interviews that you really wish that could happen. This is one of them because I really wanted to interview Annie and shout out to Maheen Khan who was able to help me with this interview as well. So thank you so much, Annie, for joining me.
Thanks, Heather. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So Annie, I always feel so happy and proud whenever I have Pakistanis on my show because being a Pakistani myself, I know how much that means having our name represented internationally. And I think you've done that remarkably well, even in the UK, living there and then, producing music over there. So how does it feel doing that as a Pakistani, representing your country abroad?
It's amazing. I think ever since I was a child, we grew up very patriotic. My parents always instilled, the importance of being Pakistani and knowing your roots. And we used to visit Pakistan twice a year at least, for our holidays, Christmas, Easter, or whenever we could. And we would enjoy being there. We'd enjoy the language, the country, the food, our cousins, our relatives. And we'd go back to England, and we just like life was never the same. We always missed being in Pakistan. And as a British Pakistani, just like many Pakistanis that live abroad, you do aspire as a child or when you're young to grow up and represent your country internationally. So it was always it's something that I aspired to do. I didn't know that I'd actually do it one day, but it was always there in my head. That one day I just want to do, just kind of put my own little something into the image of Pakistan, and if I can represent my country in some type of way, I will be extremely content. So I'm grateful, really grateful.
That's amazing. And I think it's really good because many people, and I'm not speaking from the perspective of Pakistanis, but there are many people who forget to be patriotic when they move abroad or when they go abroad. They do blend in so well with other cultures that they forget where they come from. So I'm really happy that you've kept that presence and kept that essence true to who you are. And that's great. So, Annie, moving on. I wanted to also ask you about your passion for music. Were you always passionate about music earlier on in your career, or did you have a different career path in mind to pursue?
You know what? To be honest, when Mahia blew up, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't expect to be famous. It wasn't something that I mean, when you look back at the home videos that my parents used to make of us as children, yes, I was always in front of the camera. I was always trying to get the limelight, trying to steal, everyone's light and just trying to be the loudest and sing and dance and do everything. So it was always in me to be a performer. But did I ever think it would happen? Like, no, I didn't. I didn't think it would ever happen, but it did. So was the passion there? Yes, I think it was definitely. But it's just one of those things where you just wake up one day and you think, damn, like I'm famous. How did that happen? It was just one of those things. I never worked towards it. It wasn't something that it wasn't a calculated, career move or something. I was just a kid and I was meant to go to university and I didn't. So Mahia was my university.
Yeah, yeah. I actually see many of your your small incidents that you're sharing about your career and like how you always aspired to be in front of the camera. I can relate to that as well because that was also me growing up as well. I used to not know what a tripod was. I used to like put tables on each other just so I could film, my acting and stuff like that. The only difference was that I was more passionate
Oh,
about acting, you know, and I still am, but
yeah,
I was also reading up on you and you have a bachelor's degree in psychology, and so do I. And I also have a master's in communication, and you have
mm,
a master's degree in journalism. So that's pretty
mhm.
coincidental, and I'm really happy to know that. So
That
that's
is
great.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's great to know. So you re-released your hit single Mahia, which was in 2006, and now you released it again, which
Yeah.
is called Mahiya Returns. What made you re-release the song?
You know, I think the fans more than anything. Um, we didn't have, so we only had Facebook then. We didn't have Instagram when Maya came out. We didn't have TikTok and all of these other social media platforms. So I didn't really. I mean, the song in terms of where it was then and the situation and however much exposure we had back then, it was incredible to be a part of that era. But I think the people that grew up with Mahia, now they're the same age as me, or maybe plus minus 5, 10 years, and we've grown up together, we've matured together, and that song is just one of those songs I think that brings back memories for people. I talk to people who tell me they know exactly where they were when they heard it for the first time, or what they were doing, or they have memories of that song, and it takes them back to a certain moment in their life. And so I think it was such a special song because it connected to so many people in so many ways. I've met people that are my parents' age, and older than my parents, who meet me and tell me that they have been loving the song since it came out. They remember every lyric, and they would listen to it 10 times a day in their phones. They had the video in their phone. So it was something that I wanted to do for the fans. I had so many opportunities in the past, but I don't think I was up for it at the time. And I thought, this is great. I was approached by Freebird Records, and we'd been talking about it for a long time. And finally, we were able to do it, and it was just, it's lovely. It was a really good experience.
Yeah, I actually have when I found out that you re-released this song, I immediately put that in my Spotify playlist because I was like, it's one of my favorite songs too from a Pakistani artist. So I've been jamming it to it too. So
Thank
thank you for doing that. And I was also reading some comments. First of all, Annie, this is a compliment for you. You look the same. You haven't aged, and that's something that I was also
you.
reading up in the comment section. So that's great. And the other thing is that many fans were also writing about um, on your video that you're very underrated. You do lack support. Why did you leave the music scene? Would you like to address any of this, or is there like any broader issue that
Yeah.
you're encompassing at the time, or even presently?
Well, I think, for them to say that, is, I take that, I feel like it comes from a very endearing place. It's a place of love, and I'm just, as long as they show up and as long as they've showed up, I've always felt like I made it.
Yeah.
And for someone like me, with my, starting off as a teenager and going straight into such an illustrious career, being the face of so many multinational brands, and being the face of the Red Cross, which was such an incredible experience. We raised millions and millions of pounds for so many great causes, including the floods that happened in Pakistan. And to be on an international platform where I could represent my country and do all of the things that I never imagined. I think when initially, I became famous, and the realization hit me that, okay, this is fame. To be very honest with you, I didn't like it. I'm a very family oriented person. I'm a homebody. I like to be at home a lot, and I was very attached to my parents, my siblings. So it wasn't like, I was very picky, choosy about the opportunities I wanted to take. and the performances I wanted to do, the things I wanted to pursue, and where I wanted to say, hey, you know, I don't want to do this. And so it was never about there being any issues or lack of support. I think the country has given me so much respect, and I think it's Pakistan that's given me this name. And it's this name that I carry everywhere else with me, you know, internationally. And it's, you know, at the end of the day, it comes from Pakistan, it comes from the people. But I wasn't ever the type of person that, you know, chased the fame or wanted it. And so when I got it, it was like, there were bouts of, you know, depression, you know, there were bouts of feeling anxiety. And I used to feel homesick, and I missed, you know, my parents and my family. And I tried to overcome that. But there were, you know, so I think that's where I used to pull back. And that was intentional. That was because I needed that for my mental, you know, for my mental peace and for myself. So, you know, I deeply appreciate, you know, what the fans say, and I know how much they love me. And, you know, it almost feels like a family thing now, because it's been years, you know, they're the same people that were there from Mahia. And now they're watching me grow into a different person, you know, and be a mom and do all of these other business ventures. And I think, you know, I'm just grateful, and I'm grateful to the country, because if it wasn't for Pakistan, I wouldn't be Annie Khalid. So
Exactly, exactly, yeah. And I think because you also mentioned earlier on, you weren't expecting Mahia to blow up as it did, and you have also produced other music too. But that single alone, like, you know, something that sounds good to the ear, what is considered like a signature song. So I think people do recognize you for that. So I'm really happy that you were able to bring that again, a newer version of it this year. Although it sounds the same, but still it's a new Annie Khalid, you know. So I wanted to ask you, are there any new singles or an album in the making now that you have kind of like maybe dipped your feet again in the realm of music?
you know, I am talking to a lot of labels right now and a lot of agencies. You know, there are talks. I've been having meetings, and I'm just trying to work out how you know, how is best for me to approach this. Because for the fans, yes, I would like to, you know, do something, but at the same time, I also am a mom, and you know, and I have other goals and other aspirations that I want to pursue. So keeping all of those things in mind, yes, definitely. But let's see. Let's see. We will know soon. By summer, I should have a definite plan in place.
Inshallah, definitely. Yeah. Annie, moving on, you've been in the music business for quite some time. You know the ins and outs of the industry. And also living in Pakistan, you do realize that it comes with a lot of challenges, especially when you are a female singer. Has there been any major challenge that you've encountered as an artist, especially living in the limelight?
You know, I have had so many people ask me this question, especially specific to being a woman and being a Muslim woman and being a Pakistani woman. You know, has there been any adversities that I've had to overcome? And to be honest with you, um, no, I've never. I've only ever been respected. I've only ever been loved. I've only ever experienced, you know, amazing hospitality. And you know, wherever I've gone, wherever I've traveled. I was actually at an international event a while ago, you know, and this was when my career was sort of at its peak. And you know, it was a European country, and they said to me, you know, they asked me the same question and said, "We'll put you on the front pages of all of our newspapers and our publications if you just say that Pakistan isn't a safe place for a woman like you in showbiz, and you know, you get threatened, or you have, you know, people are out to get you, especially the, you know, the Islamic, you know, because it's an Islamic republic, and you know, religious groups target you and things like that." And I said, "So absolutely not. You know, there's no way on earth that I'll ever say anything like that, because first of all, it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, I've only ever had the most amazing time of my life performing. I've only had excellent experiences. There's never been a moment or a time where I've had to overcome anything of that sort. So for me, it was so strange, for them to say that to me. And I was so offended by it, because I was like, that's never actually happened to me. That's never happened. And if there's any, obstacle or adversity that I've had to overcome, it's only ever been missing my parents. And because I was young, obviously I've grown up now. I'm obviously I'm mature. I have a kid, I'm a mummy.
Yeah.
But I wasn't as emotionally independent back then. So maybe that was, I think, the only issue I had.
Yeah, no, even the issue that you discussed of the newspapers and magazines, and that reveals a lot about the practice of journalism overall. And I think that's a good thing that you were able to hold your ground, and I'm very happy and proud of you for that. You should always do that, especially when your country is being misrepresented. It's one thing to do it if it's actually true, but it's completely the other thing when you feel like it's being sensationalized, and you don't have to compromise. You should never compromise on your own values for, acceptance.
Absolutely. Because Heather, you have to be specific to, I mean, where I live, where I perform, what I do. I've never had issues.
Yeah.
Why am I going to go on an international platform just to, I don't need that. Whatever I am is because of my country, and there's no way on earth that I would ever go against it. And I feel like we kind of indirectly become ambassadors of our country when we go to these events. Even if we choose not to, we are there representing Pakistan. And so for me, it was so absurd to be asked that question. And I just thought to myself, this is basically how it is everywhere. There is and you've done journalism. You've done what's your master's in?
Communication.
Communication, exactly. So you know what it's like. There's so much gatekeeping in journalism. There's always these agendas that certain publications are pushing, and there's no way that I would be complicit to any of that. I'm such a patriot.
Yeah, as we all should be. Thank you so much for that, Annie. I wanted to also conclude on a note that's a little bit political in nature, but I feel like it's also important because when I was reading up on you, I realized your father is of Kashmiri descent. And given what's going on in Kashmir right now with the ongoing and the recent past of India, Pakistan violence that's been going on cross borders. Where do you see the future for as an ambassador for maybe Kashmir as well? Like, where do you see the future of Kashmiris, especially on your father's side? How do you want things to change for the better?
Yes, my dad is Kashmiri. Definitely. Well, I always, whenever people ask me where I'm from, I always mention that I'm Kashmiri. I'm just so proud to be a Kashmiri. And what's been going on in Kashmir is, it's been prevalent for decades now. It's like, Heather, to be frank with you, I feel like, any hopes of there being peace in that region, it's very discouraging. I don't want to, as optimistic as I am, I do hope that things change. I do pray, and I wish that there comes a day when, the Indians and the Pakistanis can come to a resolution for Kashmir, because ultimately it's the people that are suffering. There's no stability, there's no equal rights. People are being killed for absolutely no reason, and I just feel like it's bleak. The future, it doesn't look that promising for Kashmir. But that doesn't mean that I don't hope that things don't get better. I do hope, I do pray, and I wish. I have so many relatives there. I know so many people that are from there, and I take immense pride in being a Kashmiri. Me and my, all of my cousins that have settled abroad. We always have Kashmir in our bio, or Kashmiri in our bio. We are extremely proud of our roots, but these differences are created by politicians, and it's the people that end up suffering. And it's the same with any type of war or conflict that's going on in this world. Look at Gaza and and Palestine, for example. It's what just happened in Pakistan with the strikes. At the end of the day, I will always support my country, with pride. and I will always speak for my country. And I think, you know, when I decided to go for journalism, that's also one, you know, thing that I, you know, in my head, it was, you know, I always championed for rights and for things that I believed in, and I always thought about, you know, advocacy journalism, you know, and maybe in the future that's something that I might actually raise more awareness on, or talk about, you know, when I decide to pursue my career um, professionally, maybe as a journalist. So let's see.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for answering that. Very lastly, to conclude, how do you wish to be remembered? Because I know you've left a huge legacy behind, especially in terms of, and you're still
Mm.
continuing to build that legacy. But with whatever you've achieved so far, how do you wish to be remembered?
Um, I wish to be remembered as someone who used her voice both in music and I think outside of music. I want to, especially for women, you know, I want women to look at me and sort of be inspired by the fact that you can actually do it all if you want, you know. You can go and achieve all of your international dreams or your national dreams or any dreams that you have. You can chase, you know, your academic dreams as well, which I did later on in my life. And you can also be a mom, you know, and you can literally do it all. Women are super women, and you know, if I can inspire anyone, then I'd say, you know, this is how I'd like to be remembered, as someone who's, and also I think the most important thing is just as a loving mom, you know, someone that my child looks up to. I wish to inspire her to be the best version of herself. You know, she's going through a lot of health issues quite recently that have just only come up, and you know, she's battling a lot, you know, and she's just 8. So I'm trying to be there for her, and I would like to be remembered as the mom that did it all for her.
Yeah, and inshallah, I mean, everything, wishing her the best and all the blessings for you, your family, your child, and inshallah, I think everything happens for the best. And you know, Allah tests those who He loves the most too. So, Annie, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciated this conversation. That is all for now. Stay tuned for more on my official YouTube channel and Facebook page. Until then, take care. Allah Hafiz.